The Eurozone is close to collapsing, the UK is urged not to extend the transition period, and we'll give you today's good news in these dark times. Well, the European Union certainly are managing this problem in Europe really well. Not up to a point where each European national government have gone on their own, tried to introduce massive financial packages to help the economy and their citizens. And we said yesterday that the EU have been feeling left out. So now they're getting involved to show that they still exist and they're still relevant. Now we're going to talk about the Eurozone and the problems in there because there are senior Brexiteers and experts who are urging the UK government not to extend the transition period because while we're still in the transition period, we are technically tied to the EU, even though we're not a member. So whatever happens in the Eurozone will definitely affect us directly. And we're going to talk about that in this video, but also some Remainers, we mentioned Lisa and Andy yesterday, those people are saying that we should extend the transition period to be able to negotiate properly, despite the consequences. Now, why are they giving this sort of idiotic advice? Well, we don't know. And the whole situation is getting completely ridiculous. Now, we have a new think tank, the Centre for Brexit Policy, that involves people like Owen Paterson, who are now basically saying it is a ludicrous option to extend this deadline because we will be massively affected by the downfall. Once the UK leaves the European Union's framework at the end of 2020, this financial risk should be lower for the UK itself and the global financial market, and it is more likely that a threat can be mitigated by collaborating with other global financial centres. The Centre for Brexit Policy has warned that a recently published report identified that the foundation of the Eurozone financial regulatory system is based on toxic country debt that is wrongly treated by the Eurozone as riskless liquid sovereign debt. And people wonder why this project isn't working, because that's literally how they've been operating for the past decade or so, and it's getting worse and worse. And we saw what happened in 2011 with Greece, and then following that with Italy right now, and even with Portugal. That's the same method. They're making the same mistake over and over again, and it is quite silly. Yes, the experts say that Britain is well placed to avoid the fallout from such a crisis because it opted to keep the pound, and city regulators have long been taking actions that protect the global financial centre based in the UK. But the UK must still take great care to avoid getting sucked into the looming Eurozone financial crisis via liabilities to the EIB and other agreements with the EU. This should be a guiding principle in our Brexit negotiations and could potentially protect us and the global financial market from the actions of others. And this is why we should be very lucky that Brexit vote happened, but then Brexit was actually implemented. Because otherwise, if you were a full member, it wouldn't look good. According to the Daily Express, Brexit saves the UK from a colossal EU bailout bill amid fears that Brussels will run out of money. The Express says this will see the European Central Bank buy government and company debt across the Eurozone, including that of troubled Greece and Italy. ECB boss Christian Lagarde tweeted that there are no limits to its commitment to the euro. Brussels has also relaxed budget rules for the first time and allowed member states to redirect money allocated for other purposes to actually control this current situation. At the same time, the EU officials have also stressed that Brussels could run out of money if they continue doing this, but I don't think they have any alternative at the same time. Now Christine Lagarde is in trouble because of the comments she made last week saying she doesn't really want to get the ECB involved in terms of managing the interest rates. Now she's had to make a U-turn. The action is now welcome. This is a week after the ECB president foolishly said that it was not the job of her central bank to narrow the spreads, the difference in interest rates between the stronger and weaker members of the Eurozone. And now they've made a huge U-turn. By stronger and weaker members, they're talking about countries like Greece and Italy as opposed to Germany. Now, her comments has resulted in a rise in Italian yield, which is now actually going around the Eurozone, which we will see the impact in the next few weeks and months to come. Now, normally I agree with her. Normally it shouldn't be the job of central banks. Well, firstly, you shouldn't have a European central bank in the first place. But in this time when every other national government is introducing interventionist policies, then this is exactly why when her first comments was not to intervene, Italy went mental. So now she had to make a U-turn. So according to the Financial Times, so far, in the European Union and national authorities' proposals in response to the disease have lacked the scale and synchronization of the 200 billion euros spending program coordinated by Brussels and EU member states after the 2008 crisis, which was equal to 1.5% of the bloc's gross domestic product. And you can see each country in Europe individually what their governments are doing. This is thanks to the Financial Times getting all this data. Obviously, we have certain countries, including the UK, doing state loans and credit guarantees for companies, obviously tax deferrals, social security deferrals or subsidies, debt repayment holidays. Now, the one thing that the UK aren't doing is income subsidies for affected workers properly, but they are now introducing new interventionist policies for even the self-employed, which needs to be confirmed properly by the government. But interestingly enough, even Italy are not doing all the measures. They're not doing tax deferrals, they're not doing social security deferrals or subsidies. They're trying to manage the situation using different financial planning. Although while we said that the European Union left these countries to be alone, now they made a U-turn to be interventionist, also to help their favourite members, including France. Yes, now we have the European Union approving a 300 billion euro French state aid to fight this problem, because before they always said because of the state aid rules, countries shouldn't be allowed to do things like this. And literally days before, a couple of days ago, we had the EU kicking off because the UK decided to go against the normal state aid rules in the European Union. But then they realized we're not really a member anymore, so they can't tell us what to do. And but even when it comes to the European budgeting, Ursula von der Leyen has had to make a U-turn. Yes, the European Union have now suspended the budget rules for the first time. Now, this is the first time that the EU will allow member states to spend whatever they want to help the situation. This is according to the Telegraph. EU finance ministers are expected to formally approve the clause next week. The derogation is only allowed in cases of an unusual event outside the control of a member state. Italy has announced a 25 billion euro spending bonanza with their fellow debt rule breakers France and Belgium following suit with their own massive spending sprees. The escape clause was created in 2011 in the height of a debt crisis, when the rules on debt and deficits were tightened in an effort to preserve the single currency bloc from further shocks. Yeah, how did that go for you guys? Not well. The mismanagement of the Greek situation and then the Italian situation shows the incompetence of these people, and how the bigger they get this project, the harder it becomes for them to control their member states. But let's all be positive. Let's not focus on the negativity too much, because that's their problem now. We are leaving any ties that we have, hopefully by the end of December. We no longer remember anyway. But as I promised, we are going to be giving you a good piece of news every day at the end of each video to leave this on a more positive note. Today we have news from zoos from across the Western world. So if you can't obviously attend zoos anymore because they've all been closed down, what they're trying to be doing is that they're going to be introducing live streams on YouTube, so you could actually watch the animals for free, which is a good sign. It will definitely help to boost people's morale. And we have a footage for you from one of the zoos that have allowed penguins to randomly walk around and pretend to be tourists. So we have penguins actually going around the zoo looking at other animals and fish, just like a bunch of tourists who usually do the walking around or walking around. But it's actually it's quite nice to see some random and happy video clips going around the internet these days. Right, we're going to have more updates for you guys on this in the next couple of days, and hopefully I plan to organize a members only live stream video. If you're a member of our YouTube membership club, then hopefully I'll see you around 8 p.m. I'll confirm this beforehand. And if you are not a member, you want to get more out of this channel, we do have our daily videos at 5:45, which remains free for all as usual. But if you want to get access to the premium content, make sure you check out the link in the description. You should also find the join button next to subscribe on the main page, or just go on your browser, youtube.com/myitc/join. And if you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to the channel and click on that bell next to it so you get notified. I'm myitc. I'll see you guys tomorrow with a new video.